Okay, I guess we are live. Okay, just getting a couple of last minute things here. Okay, great, we're getting some people on. I'm just trying to get this camera situated here. All right. Okay. I'm really not sure how many viewers we're going to have, or if even I should be on here with all the unrest that's going on in the Capitol right now. But I think I will plug along because people can watch this on the replay later. And maybe this is a good thing to keep our minds distracted. Okay, so hello to everyone. I see Dee, you're here. Diane, Carolyn, Pat, hi you guys. Yeah, Dee, I agree. It just makes you crazy to watch all that stuff because there's like really nothing we can do right now. Um, so let's make some scarf pins. Okay, so I'm just going to go ahead and plug right in here. I don't know if you guys are familiar. I see I've got a couple of new viewers. And I've made, yeah, hi Patty. Distraction is definitely needed. Okay, so in the post advertising the class, I had a picture of a couple of scarf pins that I have made before, and one of my favorite scarves. And you can use, I don't know if I should wear this throughout the broadcast or not. Maybe I should be fancy. I don't know. Anyway, these pins are great for silk scarves, but you could attach them to any kind of scarf, even to a sweater if you wanted to do that. So anyway, I had shown this pin right here, but I don't think I'm going to wear that. I had made a new one this morning because I'm always thinking of stuff before the broadcast, and I thought, why not use an impression die? So I did. I made a butterfly pin using an impression die, one of the Potter butterflies that I love. So that's kind of cool. But yeah, let me swing the camera down here. Whoop. I always dislodge this camera when I'm trying to move it. Okay, so here are a few that I've made. And this particular butterfly I made from an etched piece. I have a rubber stamp of this butterfly, so I made an etching of it and then sawed him out and made him a little scarf pin as well. And I don't know, can you guys see these okay, I hope? Hey Jennifer, hey Deb. Okay, this was made with one of Roberta Peel's impression plates, this little honeycomb. And like I said, this one is an impression die. And this is, oddly enough, a hardware store item. This copper piece right here. I'm not really sure what it's used for, but I discovered these a long time ago. Somebody else had mentioned them in something else. And Jennifer, you talking about this one? This I got from Menards, which is a home improvement store in our area. I don't know if you have them in yours, but I would think Lowe's or Home Depot would have them as well. I know this is backwards, but it's called a Copper Star. Comes in a package. I think there's, I don't know, 5 or 6 of them in the package. 5. Quantity of 5. That's what this is. You can actually enamel these as well too. So that's another fun thing that you could do with them. But I put him right through the rolling mill with a paper pattern, and he etched, or he made the imprint real well, and then domed him a little bit. So that was kind of cool. So yeah, I mean, there's things out there that you know, a lot of people don't know about, and somebody brought it to my attention, so now I'm bringing it to yours. But I will have this information on the handout that you can print up. But it's kind of cool because you don't really, other than putting a design on it, you don't really have to do anything else to it if you don't want to. But I was thinking that actually with all these holes, you might be able to lace it with some wire, like kind of do like a little woven pattern in there. I think that might be kind of cool. I might pursue that later, and maybe flare these little flaps out a little bit too. So I think there's potential with this piece. And they were relatively inexpensive too. I can't remember because I bought them a long time ago, but I don't think they cost very much. So that's another option. Home Depot doesn't have it, Jennifer? Okay. Well, I know you can order from Menards online, but I would look at Lowe's too. I would maybe do a search. These are called a tube locking nut, 1/2-inch Copper Star. By I guess the brand is Sioux Chief, but like I said, it'll be on the handout. Okay. No to Lowe's too. Oh my goodness. Well, there's always online, I guess. Okay, so I don't know. I was kind of excited about this, and then somebody mentioned the other day if you could make these into hair clips, or whatever you call those, barrettes. And I suppose you could. I don't see why you couldn't really, except the piece probably would need to be domed a little bit more. This is pretty shallow, but you do need to have a dome for your stick pin to fit in properly. So that will, I'll mention that again, but keep that in mind that you do have to have, your piece needs to be domed somewhat. D. Marie says maybe a local plumber supply. That's very possible. Very possible. Okay, so these are the possibilities. The stick pins, you can make a variety of designs if you want. I'll show you how to do that too. But these are kind of fun. They're very simple. And we'll get to that in just a bit. Okay, so for supplies, you're going to need either 14 or 12 gauge copper wire. I'm using 14, and I like 14 because if you were going to stick it into a sweater or something, it's not going to make a huge hole. This the end of the stick pin has been filed down to a point. So of course that point has to go through your clothing. So you don't want to leave big holes in your clothing, but that's why I thought 14 gauge was nice. But if you're going to make a larger piece, or maybe something for your hair, probably 12 gauge, or maybe even 10 if you were going to do it for your hair, just so that it's stiff enough to hold up, especially if you've got like a lot of hair. I don't have a lot of hair, so my hair is, I have a lot of hair, but it's thin, it's very fine. So people with really thick hair might need a bigger stick pin. Okay, so let's see here. So we need 14 gauge wire. I used 22 gauge wire for, sheet for the body of the scarf pin. So this is, and I think these are 22 gauge as well, these ones from the hardware store. I know I read that somewhere. I don't see it now, but anyway, I think they are. But you could use 20 gauge if you wanted heavier, but if you're putting it in like a silk scarf or something, you don't want it to be too terribly heavy. You can also use 24 gauge. The 24 gauge, I should say the pre-embossed pieces that are 24 gauge, I mean, I've gotten them from Metalliferous. Let me turn around here a minute and grab one. Metalliferous sells pre-embossed strips. This one's brass, but they sell copper as well. But if you don't have a rolling mill and you like this embossed texture like this, you can get these sheets at metalliferous.com. And these are 24 gauge. They're thinner, but they still work just fine for that. Okay. Deb, you said yours are 20 gauge? Okay. Jennifer, you're so observant. So observant. Yeah, I put a frog pillowcase on my rolling mill after I watched Gwen's broadcast this morning, because I had a piece of plastic over my rolling mill. I'm one of those people. But I have a dehumidifier here in my studio, so moisture isn't too much of a problem. Dust is a bigger one. So I figured plastic was fine, but after I saw Gwen's pillowcase, I thought, well, maybe I better. And I went on a pillowcase making jag a few years ago with my grandson. He picked out all the fabrics. He was a little bit younger, and he wanted to give people presents for Christmas. And I thought, well, I'm not much of a sewer, but I had seen a demo on making pillowcases that I thought, well, maybe I could do that. And so I did. But we went to the fabric stores. We went to Joann's and had a blast picking out all kinds of different fabric patterns. So he picked out the green yoga frogs, and I thought maybe that would be nice and cheerful in the studio. So yeah, Gwen gave me that idea to get rid of the plastic and put a cotton pillowcase on there. So Dee Marie, you have a rust-proof bag and pillowcase on yours. Yeah, that's, I guess that makes a lot of sense. So those froggies are going to be down here with me for a while. Okay, so if you have a hydraulic press and pancake dies, you can punch out your shape if you want. If you don't have one, we can use our handy dandy circle template. There are lots of other templates in different shapes. There's ones with butterflies, ginkgo leaves, different geometric shapes, lots of different things that you could draw or use to draw your pin body. So I just happened to punch one of these, but I am going to just use my circle template and cut one out with some metal shears. If you like to saw with a jeweler saw, by all means go for it. I am not one of those people that loves the saw very much. I will use it when I need to, but if I can avoid it, I do. So I mean, that's the honest truth right there. So let me point this down. The sunflower, yeah, it would, Deb. The sunflower stamp would be cool. So I've made a few of these. I haven't made a ton, but there's lots of possibilities with them. I think even if you had the silhouette dies that Potter has, you could use those. A concho impression, a large one, I think you could use one of those. I think the ideas are really endless. So I'm just going to use a Sharpie and trace out my circle. And, well, I guess I was talking about the supplies that you need. So, like I said, this I'm using 22 gauge sheet. I'm using 14 gauge round wire. I have a disc cutter that I'm going to use, but you don't have to have one unless you want a hole in the center. You don't have to put one. You know, like this one has a hole in the center. I like that because you can see the scarf material through there, but you know, you're wearing the scarf, so it's not like it's not being seen. So that's totally up to you. It's just a design choice. So if you're going to put a hole in the center, you're going to need a file to file inside to smooth that off. You will need a file also to file around the edges. You will need round nose and flat nose pliers and a wire cutter. And you know, this particular hole punch, this one's the three hole punch. This is the Eurotool hole punch, and this one has 3 different sizes on here, but they have a large one. It's this 1/8 size, which is kind of nice. I used that on one of these that I didn't have a lot of clearance. I'll explain that more as we get to those steps. I was just kind of talking about tools that you need. That's probably about it, and a standard hammer. But all these materials are in the handout as well. Hey, Gwen, glad you could join us. You can watch me stutter along. Okay, so I'm going to just use my metal shears and cut on the outside of the line of the sheet metal. And just try to stay, I'm going to cut this off, get rid of that bulk, and just cut as evenly as you can around the outside of that Sharpie line. Okay, get rid of that. I have a wet sander in my utility room that's attached to my sink that I do all of my sanding and filing, grinding, all that stuff, rather than use hand tools. I only use the hand tools when I have to get into real small places. But this wet sander is really nice because it keeps the metal cool while I'm filing burrs off, and the edges. I would just take this right over to the grinder and just kind of roll it right around and get all of that unevenness off. It's pretty sweet. So I'm just using a sandpaper file. It's kind of a coarse grit. I'm not sure. I think this is maybe 180 on here. And just smooth these edges so they're not sharp. I'm not going to go too crazy with it for this, just because all these things take time. And you all know how to sand or file, whatever. Okay, so it's okay, but it's probably could use a little bit more. But I can refine this later too. How you clean your feet? Deb, you're hilarious. I have one long fingernail left. They've been breaking off terribly lately. I don't know. I've never had any luck growing fingernails, so mostly they just break off as soon as they get a little bit of length. But this one I'm just kind of keeping for, I don't know, for a laugh, I guess. Because I contemplated snipping it off this morning, and then I thought, oh, the heck with it. So it'll probably break off before the end of the day anyway. Where I got this, I think I got this on Amazon, but I'll double check. I know that I wrote that down somewhere in one of my handouts, but I'm pretty sure I got it on Amazon. I saw Melissa Muir using one of these on one of her YouTube videos, and I thought that looked pretty handy because I've just been using those sticks that you just replace from time to time, and these are neat because it just unscrews here, and then this flap of sandpaper fits over there, and then you screw it back on, and you can get lots of different grits for these as well. So I just bought the one handle, but I guess if you wanted to pop for more, you could have different ones for different grits. So Tammy, I will get back to you on that, where I got it, but I want to say I got it on Amazon. Okay, so we sanded that. And now I've got, I want to make a center hole in this one. My metal was already roller printed, so I want to make a center hole in there. So I'm going to use my template to make sure that I get that in the center. Although I suppose if you were off center, it wouldn't really matter too much, but I would just as soon, and I'm going to use my grid that's on my tabletop here to kind of help me out, keep me true here. All right, so I'm going to draw my center hole right there. Oh, and then I need to also mark where I'm going to put the holes for the stick pin. So I guess I will go here. I rarely do anything precise, but and that's probably not even really straight, but it's okay. All right, so the basic pin is pretty darn simple. What I'm going to do then now is put this in. I have my old Pepe disc cutter. I got this one, I think, at the Bead and Button Show around 2011 or something. And they don't make this style anymore. They've improved them a little bit, I have seen, but there's absolutely nothing wrong with the function of this one. So I'm going to use it just as long as I can. Okay, so most of the times, I guess I should have, I like to hit my, or punch my disc from the opposite side of the design, but I didn't do that this time. I forgot. Because sometimes there's just a little bit of a lip after you cut the disc, and I'd rather have that on the reverse side, but oh well. And I did not lubricate this because I don't have my cut lube right here with me. But that's always a good idea to do that. All right. Okay. And now I have a nice 1-inch disc, or I think this is 7/8, but to use for something else. And I am off a little bit, but that's okay. All right, the next thing I need to do is make my side holes for my stick pins. And for that, I will use one of the teeny ones of the disc punches. Which size lower? This one is a 2-inch disc that I'm using that I cut out. I think it was a 2-inch. If not, it was close. Yeah, this is a 2-inch disc. Okay. All right, and now I'm going to use whatever size this is, because it's not marked, but it's the second from the smallest in the disc cutter that I have here. And I've already marked where I'm going to put my holes, and just kind of line that up. Now I've got really good light in here, but for this kind of thing, I could use a little bit better. Is your reception good this time? I know last time when I did a demo, it was really fuzzy and it was just bad. But I got to thinking, you know, my daughter's home on Christmas break, and my husband was using his cell phone and his laptop, and she was using hers. And I think that has something to do with the clarity of the picture, like, you know, bandwidth or whatever. I don't know how all that stuff works, but I asked them kindly to turn their stuff off or leave while I'm doing this, because it's very distracting and disappointing when people can't see what you're doing. All right, so punch that through. And I have a nice size hole there. The hole doesn't have to be quite that large, but if you've got the room to make it, it's fine to do that. Okay. All right, so I have my 2 holes on either side. Now I want to sand or file the inside of this just a little bit. Just to smooth that a little bit. And then, yeah, these outside edges are really kind of not so nice. I may file it just a little bit more. Good. I'm glad everything's clear. Yeah, I think really everybody using their Wi-Fi and stuff makes a difference. Okay. All right, so there's that. I want to get this marker off here a little bit. Just steel wool that a little bit. A little oxidation on the metal because it's been sitting around. But I want to get that Sharpie marker off. Okay, got a little bit of distortion right here. There we go. Flatten that a little bit. I'm not sure what you mean, Deb. Unless you're meaning what would I sell my pins for? I don't know. I'll measure that. I will measure. This, if it's accurate, says it's 4.6 millimeters. And let's see about inches. 8.18. So whatever that is, because I am bad on my fractions. 1/8 was on the was on this, and it's a little small, but it works because I did use it. I did use it on this butterfly, and it worked. So, but that's with 14 gauge wire too. So, okay. I think, yeah, 1/8. I don't know what's ever up from 1/8. Where's my cheat sheet? Where's my cheat sheet when I need it? Yeah, 3/16 probably. I use this giant inch thing all the time. The 3/16 would probably be a good size hole, but 1/8 will do with 14 gauge too. So there's that. Okay, so I'm done with that part. Now at this point, I would dome my piece, and that is easily enough done with one of these little metal or wood dapping blocks, and I've just put it in upside down here. That gives it a nice shape. Maybe I'll go down one more. Yeah, I like that better. Domed a little bit more. Okay. Okay, so that's basically the base of your pin. However, there's one other neat little trick that I will share with you in a moment. First, we'll make our stick pin. So I've got the 14 gauge wire, and I am going to measure about, well, let's say 6 inches, but really that's a little bit more than you need. So just cut off a piece of wire. Make sure that both of your ends are flush. Cut. Well, one end, the end that you're going to start with. And I'm going to take my my round nose pliers, and I'm going to make a spiral. These are kind of fun because you can make different shapes depending on how involved you want to get. You could just do a basic spiral like this one. I don't know if you can see that. Can you see that okay? It's a basic spiral. Or you can make something a little bit more triangular, or even rectangular a little bit. You can also make them heart-shaped too, but I have to refresh my memory on how you do that. But it's simple once once you remember how to do it. Okay, so I'm going to take my round nose pliers and I'm just going to grab the tip of the wire right on by the tip of the plier, well, maybe just a little bit further in. Let me see where I'm at. And roll away from me as far as I can get. And then roll it back to touch the wire. So it's kind of like a P. And then I'm going to stick my round nose plier tine in the hole there and just kind of hold on to it and pull the wire around till I touch the other wire with my pliers there. So you've got like that. And if I'm going to do a spiral, I could just keep it like that to roll it around, then switch over to my flat nose pliers and hold on to this with a firm grip, and then I move, basically I move the wire with my other hand while holding on to the spiral and form, you can move your plier too if you wanted, and just form that around, just however big you want it to be. It doesn't have to be huge. And then I'm going to put my flat nose pliers at the end of that spiral there on the wire and then pull it back. And then just kind of tweak it a little bit with my pliers. If you want to spread this out a little bit, you could just stick your pliers in that hole and kind of move that a little bit. So you can do that. Now I'm going to see how much extra wire I have here. And that's a little bit too long. So I'm going to cut some of this off here, snip that off. You could probably get by with about 5 inches of wire. Like I said, it just depends on how big you make this part. All right, so I'm going to snip off some of that. And then you're going to file this. Now, what I would normally do is I'd go into my utility room and use the wet sander and kind of just roll this around the belt of the sander and just make that point. It's very easy to do. The metal doesn't get hot because it's wet, and you get a nice fine point. So this, I'm just kind of tip my wire on an angle a little bit so I can file down that extra wire more into a point. Deb, I kind of figured that's what you meant on my scarf pins. You know, I made these a while back, and I sold them to a yarn shop, and they sold pretty well. And I want to say that I sold them to her, to the shop, for like $25 a piece, which is pretty darn reasonable in my opinion. But then, you know, she was going to charge on top of that, and she was a friend of mine, so I didn't want to make it too steep so that she could sell them. But I just kind of got away from it because, you know, I do a lot of other things. So anyway, you're just filing this point down. But if you have a little belt sander, one of those little Harbor Freight jobs or whatever, you could just take it to that belt sander and just hold it and kind of just rotate it along the grit of the sandpaper, and it'll file it right down in no time. You just want it sharp enough that it's going to pass through the material on your sweater if you're wearing a sweater, or if you're wearing a scarf, it really doesn't matter that it's super pointed. I just think that it looks nice to have a little bit of shape on the end of that wire. So yeah, this is fine. All right, so And just make sure my wire's nice and flat. Oh, I like to give the stick pin a little texture too. So I will use that on the coil up here. I'm also going to make another shape for you guys. And if you want, you can just hit this wire too a little bit. I'm not doing it to texturize it, more so than to just harden it a little bit. But it's pretty nice and stiff. And let's do one other design. All right, wire. Okay. All right. So I'm going to cut this off. These are kind of just like freeform designs up here. Like I said, now that I was mentioned that heart before, now I have that on my mind, and I'm trying to figure out how I did that. We'll roll this. They all start off getting a little bit of a twist right here. All right, so I did that. Now I'm going to stick my flat nose pliers in here and give that a bend, so it's like that. And then kind of like where the distance out where that is, I stick my plier back in here and then push this wire to touch that. And you can tweak these pretty much, you know, like that. If I would have started with a little bit longer wire, I'm going to go ahead and do this, but I would stick this in here and then bring this over. I'm just showing you that, now I wish I hadn't cut this so short, but I'm just showing you that you can make your little stick pins a little bit more interesting by just doing some basic bends with your wire. So that, and then you would pound this also, you know, to give it a little texture and strength. But it would make a cute little addition, you know, sticking out of your scarf pin like that. You get the idea, right? Okay. All right, so what I'm going to do next is, this is really pretty much it, guys. I am going to take, the thing that really helps it to be a stick pin is to take a pair of dimple pliers. And I don't think it says on here what millimeter these are. I think there's like 4 different sizes of dimple pliers. And I'll take the dimple plier, and right next to the hole that I punched, I'm going to make a dimple in the pin right here. Can you see that? Okay. On both sides. That allows the stick pin to go in there easily. I guess these holes are too big on this particular one. This probably would have been a little bit better suited for a 12 gauge wire. But that helps if you don't, and I also have a pretty good dome on this. Some of these other pieces, especially like the one with the impression die butterfly on here, I couldn't really dome this fully because I would be pressing out the pattern. So I didn't want to do that. But the stick pin, this one has a smaller hole in here, or a smaller, yeah, there's a smaller hole in there. So this one fits a little bit better. But when you put them, let's see if I can do this. You can put that, let's take the butterfly, for example. And you can decide which way you want to orient them. Okay, so you could kind of futz around with that too, how you want it to be, to lay on your scarf. But it shouldn't be like sliding up and down. You know, if that is the case, then you need to tweak something. It's either dome too much, where there's not any tension at all, and you want to be able to have it not move. You don't want it falling off of you when you're wearing it. So let's see. This one's a little bit more difficult because, like I said, I couldn't dome this one as much, but by having the dimple on the side of the holes, it allows that pin, the stick pin, to go through without any difficulty, and that's not going to go anywhere either. So, you know, depending on what you have, what you're wearing, this is distracting what I have behind me, but you know, you can, oh, I've got him going kind of crooked. Anyway, you can kind of play around with that, but that would look really pretty on a sweater as well. So, so yeah, the next step would be to put a patina on it, and that's it. So if you guys have any questions, feel free to ask. I just think that there's a lot of potential with this as far as your designs of what you choose to make, what you could do with them. But I mean, we have so many different tools available, and like I said, if I had the right kind of hair, I would maybe stick one on there and see how it worked. I guess I'll try it on my daughter later because she's got a real thick head of hair, and I can see how that will if it would hold up or not. If it would, I just would think that maybe it might slide out. I don't know. So that's basically it, guys. This is probably one of the shortest demos I've ever done. So where for the multiple dimple pliers, please? I would think that most of the tool places, you know, like AutoFry or Contenti or Rio, or even Amazon would carry them. I know I got them from the Beadsmith. I'm not sure if they're Beadsmith brand. It doesn't say. I think these are from Pakistan, it says, but that doesn't mean anything really. But let me check on this size of this dimple plier, because I know this one works well. I have one that's a little bit smaller, and it's got a hook on it, the plier does, but I don't think I have it right by me. I don't. So I'll just check on the sizes, but I know this is one of maybe the second smallest. And then there's some larger ones, but you don't really need a real big one. This is also very cool if you want to just dimple your metal piece, if you wanted to make little, you just have to decide which way. Well, if you want the dimples to be up, to be raised, this is very cool. This gives you a whole nother possibility with your designs. So you see that, how cool that is? But there's different sizes of these. So I guess there would be merit in having some different sizes if you wanted to decorate some of your pieces with them. If you go the other way, then the one's like convex and the other one is whatever it is. I can't remember. Concave, there we go. So an innie or an outie is probably what I would classify it as. Oh, Sunny, I forgot to show off. Sunny sent me some earrings, and she knows that I like mousse. It's just a weird, quirky thing that I like. And she had said a while back that she had some mousse poop earrings, and I couldn't even imagine, you know, making jewelry out of them. But these are made from mousse poop. So I just think that that's hilarious. And I thank you for that, Sunny, because I thought they were pretty funny. I guess it's a thing. People, I guess maybe where moose live, market different moose type articles. So yeah, Gwen, I'm pretty sure Eurotool would have them. So yeah, they do. They do. So yeah, I will, on the handout, I will add sizes, and if I can real quick find where you can get them easily enough, I'll let you know. So thanks for watching. Next week, I think what I'm going to do is etching some tubes. I know that I had talked about it a while back and there was some interest. Let me grab one here. So what I'll be doing is etching in copper, ferric chloride is the name of the stuff, and making some designs, because what spurred that was when I had shown these birdhouses that I made. This was one that I made with an etched tube, and this is an etched tube with some steampunk gears on there. So, you know, I think that there's a lot of stuff that you could do with these tubes. I haven't really explored too much, other than you can cap them on both ends and kind of make a bead out of them. You can make birdhouses out of them, and I'm sure there's other things that you can do with them as well. So that's what I'm going to present next week. I've got a few other fun things coming up. But, you know, there again, I am running out of some ideas. So anything that you could suggest, if it's something that I can do, I'd be happy to present it. So, so keep that in mind. And I want to wish you guys all a happy new year. And I hope we have some peace in this country soon. It's very unsettling, and I hope that all goes well in Washington, what's going on right now. So, all right, guys, that's all I got. So I will see you guys next week, Wednesday. I'll see you in the meantime on the group page. Look for the handout in just a little bit. I will have that up for you. You can always print these out, and I would suggest print them up, keep a folder, like a binder of them. That's what I do every week that I've finished a demo. I put one in a plastic sleeve in a binder, and you have a nice variety of different techniques. And I guess that's it. All right, guys, I'll see you next week. Take care.